Today's workout is a 10-minute postpartum pelvic floor workout, intermediate level. This workout will help you connect to and strengthen your pelvic floor and deep core muscles. It's intermediate, so make sure you've done the first workout in this series before moving on to this one. All you need is a mat. Let's get started. Hey mamas, welcome to today's workout. We've got a 10-minute intermediate pelvic floor workout. It's a part of my pelvic floor series, and it's the second workout of this series. So make sure you've done the beginner version before moving on to this one. We're gonna get started in our cat-cow position. So hands under shoulders, knees under hips, and we're gonna begin with that mobility and connecting to the core and pelvic floor. So inhale, release core and pelvic floor, exhale, engage. Now remember, on that inhale, we're just releasing, relaxing, and then engaging belly button to spine right here. And if you're wondering the terminology that I'm using, if you don't know, go back to the first workout. And there I explain much of what we're doing here with this exercise. It's not trying to push on the core or really suck in. We're trying to rather just release the pelvic floor and then engage on the exhale, pulling that belly button in and creating mobility in the hips, the spine. It's gonna set us up for our core work today. And release. Okay, we're gonna move back into that hands position. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips, and come to a bird dog crossover. So front arm, back leg lift, and then we're gonna take the elbow to the knee, bring it back, and then release all the way down. Let's opposite side. Come up, knee to elbow, try to meet right in the middle under that belly button. Come back out and down. So again, the arm is shoulder height, the leg is hip level, thumb up, and then we're trying to tuck that knee under and rotate just a little bit. So we get into the obliques here, we get into those hips, challenging our stability by keeping that arm and leg off the floor. If this is too advanced, you can definitely go back to the traditional bird dog exercise. But it's not about how fast you go. You can see I'm moving really slow and controlled, trying to really connect to that core and pelvic floor to find stability here. And you might find you fall a couple times. That's not a big deal. Just try it. You never know what you could do. Okay, rest for a second, and we're gonna move to our hydrant. So we're gonna do the same exercise in the last video. Lifting that leg, inhale, exhale, engage that pelvic floor. If you can stay with that engagement the whole 50 seconds, stay there. Again, we want that belly button toward the spine. We want the ribs naturally coming down. So we're not gripping through those upper abs, but we're engaged. If you need though, again, you can reset. And every time you lift that leg, that's when we want to really connect to that pelvic floor if you're releasing at the bottom. Now we've done this one before, but again, we want to make sure we're not shifting into that back hip. We're keeping everything square to the mat, and that's going to dictate your range of motion. You might not be able to get your leg super high, and that's not even the goal. The goal is to work those outer hip muscles and focus on that core stability. Rest here. You can shift back. Anytime we take a rest, you can shift back, and I suggest it because your arms, your shoulders are getting a lot of work here too. Okay, let's go to the other side. Inhale, exhale, start to move. You might find sometimes you need an extra little reset at the bottom, an extra breath. Totally cool. You want to learn those patterns of connecting to your pelvic floor. And sometimes that means every single rep you need to inhale, relax, exhale, reset as you move. But eventually you'll get the habit of knowing how to keep your core engaged while breathing, while exercising. It's a lot of components and it can seem really unattainable at first, but the more you practice it, the more you'll find it's second nature, and the more you'll find you're able to do it not just only during exercise, but also during everyday tasks, just lifting heavy things. Release all the way back to the hips, come on over to your back. We're gonna start with a glute bridge pulse. So feet close to your glutes. We're gonna lift those hips up, engage that pelvic floor, zip it in and up, and then slowly drop 1 inch up and down. Just an inch or two. So weight is in the heels. Again, we're not trying to go as high as possible. We wanna keep that work in the glutes, in the back of the body here. That posterior chain usually gets weak and tight, which is usually connected. Oftentimes weak muscles or tight muscles, or just muscles that we're straining, right? If you're breastfeeding, if you're carrying your baby, if you're rocking a baby to sleep, all the everyday life tasks added to that, your posterior chain is over demanded and underworked in the right ways. So these are great exercises for that. Same with the glutes. We really need those glutes to be strong if we want our core and pelvic floor to be strong too. Okay, we're gonna add on a glute bridge with a single leg lift. So that front leg is gonna come up, knee over the hip, and then we're gonna drive through the back heel to lift and then lower all the way back down. So lift, exhale on that lift, engage pelvic floor if you're doing the breathing every time. And again, you can still do that inhale and exhale without having to reset the pelvic floor. So let me show you what I mean. Engage pelvic floor here, keep it engaged. I'm still breathing, right? But I'm not having to reset my core every single time because it's already set and engaged. So that's another option of what it would look like to keep the core engaged while you're moving. But again, if you need to, reset like that, if you can see the difference. So like I said, it's gonna take some practice. It's a skill. It's not necessarily second nature at first, but it will become that way the more you practice it. Okay, let's do the other side. So knee is right over the hip here. And if it's uncomfortable to keep that leg up the whole time, like your thigh is on fire, just tap down like that between the reps. Driving out of that heel, really squeeze that glute at the top. Again, moving with control and intention. Focus on that core connection every single rep. Make sure it's maintained. It's great too if you have a mirror and you can watch yourself. That's a great way to learn those patterns and kind of see how your body is moving. You might find one side is harder than the other, and that's very normal with single leg work, but it's so good to train those muscles unilaterally. Okay, moving on to a side forearm plank dip. So we're gonna keep those knees bent. We're gonna lift up and down. So your elbow is under your shoulder, your hips are in line with that elbow. This is level one. I want you to focus on lifting the hip and then engaging that pelvic floor at the top. So you can inhale, exhale, engage that pelvic floor, zip it in and up. Remember, it's like you're picking up a blueberry, so it's a gentle engagement, belly button pulling in toward the spine as that blueberry comes in and up. You can also start to advance the movement by extending that top leg. But again, lifting that bottom hip and keeping that shoulder away from the ear as we advance is gonna be really imperative. You can also take it one step further if you want. You can scissor or stack the feet for the most advanced option here. But again, the focus is just to do whatever you can do well. Release all the way down, let's swivel around, do the other side. All right, reset that core, lift and engage when you're ready. So you don't want it to be necessarily like the easiest thing you've ever done. We're going intermediate this round. But again, you want it to be something you can do well, you can control while still being challenged. So whatever level that is for you in this exercise, go there. And it's 50 seconds, so maybe that's a combination of things. Maybe you find you can do a couple with the legs scissored like this, a couple with them stacked, but then you need to come back down to the knees. Totally fine. And again, that pulse, it's a really slow pulse, controlled. And we wanna make sure, again, that shoulder's not creeping up toward the ear. Keep it nice and strong in that arm. Release. All right, back to hands and knees. We're going to a bear crawl. So we did a little bear plank lift last time. This time we're gonna walk it out and in, setting up for our bear crawl in the next round. So lift, engage pelvic floor. We're gonna walk the legs out, in. If you can keep them off the floor, keep them off the floor. We're gonna do opposite leg, out, in, in. If you need to right here, drop. And if you need to breathe and re-engage, do that. Out, out, in. Do you notice my legs are extending and then they're coming back in right under my hips? As I take my legs out, what's happening in my upper body? Nothing, it's not moving. You wanna keep those shoulders right over your wrists. Yes, it's gonna make it harder, but yes, it's gonna make it worth it because you're properly positioned to engage and work your core. Last one. Woo. That one's tough. Release all the way down, shift back. We made it. Definitely more challenging that round, but that was our intermediate version. So like with the beginner version, do this one several times for even a couple weeks until you feel like you've mastered the exercises. Then you can step up to the advanced version for our final workout in this series. In addition, I would suggest pairing this workout with my postpartum ab program, my Lose Your Mommy Pooch plan, or any other postpartum strength workouts to really up your postpartum fitness game and continue to work on engaging, strengthening that pelvic floor, and getting stronger in that full body way so it can transfer to everyday life activities. So I'll see you back here for that advanced postpartum pelvic floor workout, and I hope you guys have a great day.